With almost every step I take, I cast a glance behind me. I keep expecting to hear the crunch of snow or spot a flash of red hair as Tara follows me. But there's nothing. I'm alone. I hurry through the woods practically on autopilot. Less than a week ago, I'd have never set foot in the forest on my own. But now I already have the path to the clearing memorized. It gives me extra time to worry. What am I even doing? Everything about the situation is extremely not me. Heading off on my own into a dark forest without telling anyone to go meet up with a ghost? Even thinking the word ghost still makes my heart lurch. I've seen her with my own eyes, and yet I still have trouble believing it. And I'm just trusting that she's not going to lead me to her lair and suck out my soul or something like that. But still, I keep walking. There's something exciting in being on my own, in doing something without Tara. I can't remember the last time I had a secret from her. At least, not a big one. Not telling her about the ghost girl feels a bit like rebellion. I feel like I deserve something exciting that's all my own. She and Morgan can go do whatever. I doubt Tara will even notice that I'm not around. And even if she does, it's something that she needs to get used to. I've tried to show her how to cut a video or frame a shot lots of times. It's her own fault if she still doesn't get it. Just like it's her own fault that she's missing out now. As I approach the clearing, I slow down a little. My usual trepidation overtakes me once again as I contemplate just how reckless this is. There's absolutely no guarantee that the girl isn't dangerous, that I'll walk out of these woods alive. Normally I'd chastise Tara for following her gut instinct, which dictates probably 70% of her decisions. Yet that's all I have to go off right now, the feeling that I'm safe with the ghost girl, that she won't harm me. I cross the threshold of trees and into the clearing, just like the other times. It's serenely quiet. Even my footsteps are gone, erased by the wind or snowfall. I'm here. Somehow I feel like she already knows. The forest swallows my words, returning to frozen, pristine silence. Soundlessly, she steps out from behind a tree. A small smile sits on her face, though her eyes are slightly downcast. She waves, meeting my eyes for just a moment before glancing away. Hi there. My words hang in the still air. Were you waiting for me? We lock eyes again, and she nods, quickly, earnestly. I hope it wasn't for too long. She shakes her head and then she laughs. I'm not sure what the joke is, though. What? What's so funny? Once she catches her breath, she bites her lip and she ponders. After a moment, she shrugs, looking apologetic. I guess explaining a joke through gestures would be difficult. She sidles up next to me, and I fight the urge to step back. Though I've decided to trust her, my instincts still belie my nerves. But what she seems to be most interested in is the bag slung over my shoulder. She simulates opening the bag so that she can see into it. Nosy, huh? Immediately she backsteps, waving her hands in a frantic, apologetic motion. Sorry, I was just kidding. You can look. She regards me like a timid deer as I hold the bag open for her to see. Inside are a couple books that I picked up in the village this morning. I hold up the first one, small and square and baby blue. I got a really strange look from the person who runs the bookstore because of this one. It's a book of baby names. Her eyes go wide and she grasps at her belly, then points at me. It takes me a second to understand what she means, and for some reason I feel my face flush. No, I'm not pregnant, but I thought maybe you could use it to show me your name? If it's a name that would be... Before I can finish my sentence, she zoomed back over to me. All sense of personal space once again discarded. She clasps her hands, a fiery look in her eyes, and hops up and down. Frankly, it's adorable. Guess you're a fan. Okay, cool. She eyes the book hungrily. She must be really excited to share her name with me. It's a little exciting for me, too. It's nice to see someone so happy about being with me. I fight to keep an overzealous grin off my face. Okay, let's see. I look around. Aside from trees and snow, there isn't much. I wonder if there's something about this place in particular that the girl likes. Is there somewhere nearby we could sit down? It feels a little weird to just keep standing. Fingers on her chin, she ponders, then she turns and points towards the woods, even further in. I can tell from the look in her eyes that she's uncertain. I swallow a lump in my throat. I've come this far after all. Sure, that's fine. Lead the way. She does so, but never gets too far from my side. Every few steps she glances over at me as if making sure I'm still here. That feels a little backwards to me, but in a nice way. I don't really feel compelled to break the silence either. Of course, part of that is because any conversation would be one-sided. But also, she looks content. Like she's just happy to be here. I am too. The silence doesn't feel vast and overwhelming like it has with Tara. It feels warm. Before too long, I realize what our destination is. This is nearly the same path that Morgan took us down just a couple dusks ago. I recognize some of the more grotesquely warped trees. We're going to that church. Eyes wide, she nods, probably surprised that I know of it. One of the villagers showed it to us a few days ago, me and my friend. It feels weird to call Tara my friend. Usually I'm talking to someone about Tara. They've met her before. The girl just nods yet again. As we reach the edge of the trees and the church itself comes into sight, I look around for traces of the monster we saw days before. There are none to be seen though. No snapped or toppled trees. No footsteps as deep as I am tall. Much like the girl beside me, there's no trace of its existence. I look over to the door of the church where she's patiently waiting for me. Once again, I fight back all my fears and hesitations and head for the door too. It's too late to turn back now. The door is still slightly ajar from our visit days ago. A thin trail of snow powders the entryway, but otherwise the church is dry. It's still unnaturally warm. Wonder if that has to do with the girl too. From the way she walks, I can tell she's familiar with the place. She heads to the front, stopping just shy of the altar, where she turns around to face me. Being back here is a little unnerving, and I slowly approach her. Though she hasn't given me any reason to be suspicious, the image of those monstrous eyes is ingrained in my memory. But this time, there's no howling wind or earth-shaking footsteps. Just the one girl, waiting patiently. I give her a smile as I sit down on one of the pews near the front. It's hewn from stone, smooth and rigid. She takes a seat right beside me. Normally, being this close to strangers makes me uncomfortable, but with her, I don't really mind. Part of it is, of course, the fact that I can't feel her at all. But the other part is that it feels kind of pleasant to sit together like this. I hastily push that thought out of my head. She's a ghost. She's literally transparent and insubstantial. I rummage through the bag and grab the book of baby names. Okay, so first, she bounces up and down with anticipation as I tear off the plastic cling wrap and stuff it into the tote bag. Is the first letter early in the alphabet? She nods and holds up one finger. I? L? 2 shakes of her head. She touches her index fingers together and then uses her middle finger to cross between them. Oh, an A. Enthusiastic nodding. I flip to the first couple pages of the book, right in the middle of the A's. The first name I spot is Amber. Impatiently, she leans over me and motions to go further back, towards the start. I turn the pages slowly, giving her time to scan. On the very first page, she holds out a hand to stop, and points. She's practically hanging over my shoulder to show me. Abigail. Your name is Abigail. She gives me the biggest, most radiant grin I've ever seen as she nods. Her joy is infectious, and I can't help but smile too. Abigail. I repeat it, and she looks even more joyful. A beam of light breaks through the glass window, illuminating dust motes that make it look as if she's sparkling. We lock eyes, and I feel my breath catch in my throat. The look in her eyes, pure, unadulterated happiness, is something I've never seen before. They shine with tears, the good kind. The kind that bring out the color of her eyes, the radiant kind. I didn't know I could make someone happy like this. I quickly look away, back to the now irrelevant book in my lap. Anyway, Abigail, I had a couple questions. Is that okay? Abigail nods. So, maybe this is rude to ask, but are you a ghost, or are you something else? Abigail closes her eyes and, with a sad smile, nods. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what the appropriate response to something like that is. Then, are you from Eysenfeld? She nods. Do you know a girl from there called Morgan? She shakes her head. That makes sense. I'm sure Morgan would have mentioned her before if so. So have you, been a ghost for a long time then? I cringe a little as I ask, although I'm not entirely sure what proper etiquette is for this kind of conversation. In answer to my question, she nods again. Do you know how long? A shrug. She holds up 2 fingers, then 2 fists. 200? Another shrug and a nod. 200 years. I murmur it to myself in slight disbelief. It could be more. I doubt she's been keeping track of every day. The world out there, the world I come from, it may as well be another planet for her. I'm sorry. It's incomprehensible to me. I can't fathom that much time passing, unable to talk to anyone. How lonely that must be. She closed her eyes yet again, though I've been interpreting her silence as serene. I wonder if that's how she feels. These yes or no questions are practically the extent of what I can ask her. There's still such a gulf between who she is and what I know of her. Centuries worth of solitude. In all that time, have you ever spent time like this with someone else? Without opening her eyes or looking at me, she shakes her head again. I'm the only one? I fall silent, my head still reeling. There's so many things that I want to ask and want to know. How did she die? How did her spirit stick around? Does she know about the thing we saw in the snow? Why am I the first person she's shown herself to? But there's no way she could answer. And even if she could, I wonder if she'd want to. Is it impolite to remind a ghost that they're dead? It's morbidly funny to me that these are questions I have to ask myself. Tara would love this. I pushed that thought out of my head. Tara's not here right now. It's just me and Abigail. Would you like me to read that other book? Her grin returns, the moment of melancholy dispelled. Seems I made the right call in changing the subject. I show her the cover before I crack it, enjoying that new book smell. This is a book I read a lot when I was younger. It's about a girl who wants to be a hero, so she goes on a quest with her best friend to prove herself. It's a little childish, I guess, but maybe you'd like it? Abigail claps her hands and nods. I have a feeling I could read the dictionary to her and she'd be satisfied, but I don't mention that. Okay. I smooth a crease and open to the first page. Once upon a time. It's a story that I could probably recite by heart. My mom used to read it to me when I was a little girl, and it was one of the books that I used to learn to read. I was both surprised and excited to see that there was a copy in Eysenfeld's bookstore. I settle into an easy cadence of reading. Though I'm not used to reading out loud, it starts to feel pretty natural after a couple pages. Like my mom used to do, I gave all the characters different voices. I don't have quite the range that Mom does, but Abigail seems to enjoy it all the same. She smiles and laughs in all the right places. It makes my heart warm to see how she's enjoying it. Her eyes are closed yet again, but she looks quite content. As we finish chapter 2, Abigail scoots a bit closer and rests her head near my shoulder. I pause mid-sentence, surprised, but resume just a second later. Though I can't feel her there, the sentiment is clear. I keep reading. Sometimes when I glance down, I can see that her eyes are open, reading along. Her lips mouth the same words I am. One time she catches me looking and blushes, but I just smile and continue going. After we finish chapter 4, I finally pause. My mouth is dry and my jaw is starting to hurt a little bit. I must have been reading aloud for close to an hour. Even though I stop, Abigail doesn't sit up or open her eyes. Her hand rests on my arm, and I set the book aside. Do ghosts need to sleep? That's another question I can ask, but maybe at a different time. Right now, I'm happy to let her pretend. Quietly, I hum a song. It's something from the radio, a title I can't remember, but that's always stuck in my head. It's extremely off-key, I'm sure, but I don't care. It just feels right. When I stop, she finally opens her eyes and sits back up. As we gaze at each other, she mouths 2 words that I don't have to be good at reading lips to decipher. Thank you. No problem. I hope you like the story. First, she claps. Then she places one hand over her heart. I laugh, flattered but also a little embarrassed. I think that's all I can do for today, but we should read more sometime. If you want to, I mean. I already know the answer, but she gives me an emphatic nod all the same. Okay, it's a promise. She touches her heart again, and I smile. I should probably head back to the cabin soon. People will start to get suspicious if I'm gone for too long. Abigail cocks her head like an owl, curious. I haven't told my friends about you yet. It's sort of like our secret, I guess. And I want to keep it that way for a little while longer. She smiles in agreement.